So I don't know about you guys, but I tuned into the DNC quite a bit. I didn't get to catch everything, but I tuned into as much of it as possible. Caught some of the highlight speeches from Barack Obama. AOC gave a good speech. Biden's speech was actually pretty good, and of course, Kamala Harris's speech, Tim Walz, etc. So I caught a decent bit of it, and I did watch some other social media influencers coverage of it as well. People who were covering it, from their own homes, and also some of the content creators who were also covering it from the DNC itself. And I actually did catch a little bit of Hasan Piker's coverage as well. But on the last day of the DNC, I was kind of scrolling through Twitter, and I caught wind of a lot of people talking about Hasan allegedly getting kicked out of the DNC. Oh, shit! Because he was invited to this thing, right? And he was doing a lot of streaming from the event, but they were saying that he was getting kicked out. So at the time I had tweeted this out, is Hasan really getting kicked out of the DNC? And then I finally got some answers, damn rip, and that came from this account right here, Politics Tart. They kicked Hasan Piker out of his booth at the DNC. He can stay, but he lost his spot. My uncharitable guess is it's because he interviewed uncommitted delegates. Those are, the people who were protesting in support of Palestine and Gaza. My charitable opinion is that he's not high on the media food chain, and they're bringing someone else who's paying. Okay, so that was just kind of we knew he was getting kicked out, but we didn't know all the details at the time. But this was the confirmation pretty much. So Hasan has put out a video of what happened at that time when he got kicked out. So I thought we'd kind of cover it, kind of give our thoughts on it as we go along. So without further ado, here we go.
He looks terrified. It's fine. It's just we're getting booted. We're getting booted from this space. We're fine. We're fine for now. In this, we're not fine for now. We're literally we're permanently done here, bro. That's so whack.
Yeah, and apparently he was already given the okay of you can basically stream from here the entire event. They already told him you can stay for the entire event. And then the last day, they're okay, you gotta go.
Fight back? What do you mean? I will get evicted forcibly at gunpoint. There's no fighting back. If they say, when someone says you gotta leave this area and move to a different area, do you know how many Secret Service and federal agents are here? There's no...
Just because he judged them on Palestine 100%. Look, I'll kind of give my brief summary on my thoughts on Palestine in regards to how it was covered at the DNC. A lot of people wanted to see, someone who was a representative of Palestinians be able to speak at the DNC. My honest opinion, I think they should have allowed someone to speak. At the end of the day, they did have that family who, basically has a son who is one of the hostages from Hamas. And he's been, basically captive with them for almost a year at this point. And so they let them speak, and I think they should be able to speak. I know some people don't want to acknowledge the fact that, yes, there are some people who are victims on the Israeli side of things in this situation, innocent civilians and whatnot. So I think it's fine that they had an opportunity to speak, but I think somebody from the Palestine side should have had an opportunity to speak as well. It is nice to see, a lot of the statements that happened during the DNC, basically speeches where they were saying, we need to push for a ceasefire in Gaza. I think that's a good step in the right direction, but it would have been a good faith sort of step forward even further, I think, if they would have allowed someone to speak on behalf of Palestine. That's my personal opinion. We obviously didn't see that, but it is what it is, I guess.
World where I just keep doing this. Are they giving you another place to go? I don't know. And what are we going to do about our stuff? Why even let you in just to kick you around? Guys, come on. We're at the Democratic National Convention. There's a lot of things that are moving around, okay? There's a lot of moving parts at any given moment. They're not kicking me out of the convention. They're saying that they have to use this space. They wouldn't do this to CNN? Yeah, no shit.
That was cope, by the way. As you'll see a little bit later, that was cope. It wasn't just a case of, they need the space. They end up later on taking his media pass. Okay, like he references on the stream. Well, I guess I'm not completely banned from media access because they didn't take my pass. And obviously someone from the DNC was watching his stream because shortly after he said that on stream, they came and they took his pass.
I wouldn't do this to CNN, dog. I'm not CNN. What do you mean? The fact that I have CNN level access is already insane. Be for real, okay? I don't even...
Funny enough, apparently he had better media access than his uncle, Cenk, with TYT. He had better access than them. That's pretty funny.
Know how I got this level of accommodation to begin with. Tell them your uncle Cenk. Your uncle is Cenk. Yeah, I'll tell them that. They gave him a worse space than me, so I don't know how that.
Oh my God, he referenced it. That's so funny.
Work. Just kind of whack as you told him you'd want to do it all day. Yeah, I know. I literally said, if I can't do it all day, I won't come in. I will just stream from my hotel room. But it is what it is, okay? It's not their fault. It's out of our hands. It's out of everyone else's hands. Listen, they pushed out Joe Biden. Of course, they'll push me out too, you know?
Oh my God.
They're kicking us out.
Unlucky.
I don't know why.
Apparently there's a double booking. That might just be an excuse. I don't know.
So I
mean, it definitely was an excuse. Absolutely. It definitely had, probably had a little bit to do with him interviewing, you know, the pro-Palestinian protesters outside. That probably had a small part in it. But there is a clip that I'm going to show you guys in a little bit that a lot of people are saying this is probably the reason why he got kicked. But anyway, let's continue.
Yes. At the end of the day, while they do appreciate online influencers, the level of reverence and respect for online influencers is still not up to...
The craziest thing about this is apparently, and if I'm understanding this correctly, it's this guy right here. I believe this guy is a journalist with the New York Times who was interviewing Hasan at the time that he got kicked out. So, like, you know, this guy, if he hasn't already, is going to write about this incident. And it's probably not going to be a good showing by the DNC for some, you know, Democratic voters. It's probably going to not be great. Now, I don't think it's a deal breaker in terms of like, oh my God, they kicked Hasan out of the DNC. I'm not voting for Kamala now. I don't think it's that insane, but it is one of those things where people might kind of, you know, turn their head to the side a little bit like, hey, you know, what's up with that? You know, this guy's a little bit critical of your guys's, you know, position on the Israel-Palestine conflict, and now you kick him out of your convention. It might give people a moment of pause. You know what I mean?
Exactly up to par with, you know, traditional media, because I doubt that, you know, NBC would be getting kicked out randomly. But now you can tell your colleagues, like, no, I saw the largest online commentator get chucked out with 60,000 people watching. You know, it happens to everybody, is what I'm saying. All right.
Okay, bro. I'm not a Hasan hater per se. Not necessarily like a big fan either, but like I'm not a Hasan hater per se. But can bro stroke his ego anymore? Let's be real.
Ready to go. Let's let her rip. Shave your mustache like Mike Pillow? Yeah. I want to shave my mustache like Michael Pillow and come back in.
Did you see the footage of that?
I did. It was incredible. He got owned by
Oh, that was so funny. When that guy got destroyed by a 12-year-old kid in debate.
children. How embarrassing.
That 12-year-old kid?
Yeah. That was awesome. I mean, they didn't even take our credentials away. We still have...
There it is. So you see there right there, he's like, hey, we still have our media credentials. Not long after that, they show up and they take them from him.
Access to this floor.
So they were watching the stream 100%.
I feel like the worst part about this is like, I feel like a kid that's been naughty. You know what I mean? But you also don't know what, like, I also don't know what I've done. And it almost feels like, I mean, it could be any number of different things, you know what I mean? And it's the
Okay, so I guess this is a good part to kind of like show the clip that people think is what resulted in him getting booted. So this is the clip that allegedly got him kicked. Hasan said this and then swiftly got kicked out of the DNC in the most passive-aggressive way possible. Clown show. So this is the clip that some people think is the reason why he got booted. Let's have a listen.
In terms of like literally only having is...
And by the way, this conversation on his stream was apparently happening in the middle of the speech with the parents of the kid who was like, basically he's a hostage from Hamas, and they've had him as a hostage for like almost a year now. So they're giving this speech about, you know, what's going on with their kid, And this is what he's saying in that moment.
In terms of like literally only having Israeli victims and their family members be held into question while Palestinian and pro-Palestinian people are getting fucking beaten out. Okay, like they're literally the delegates themselves that dare bring up the Palestinian casualties get fucking booed, they get humiliated, they get kicked aside. It is fucking ridiculous, okay? Yes, of course these people have a right to speak, and yes, of course they deserve to have their child back, okay? I am not a fucking soulless monster. I'm not a heartless piece of shit. Okay, there is no like boo, like I can't believe she's doing this. I can't believe the Democratic Party is doing this. But the fact that after all of the commitment that the Democratic Party has given to the Israeli government to just basically absolutely eviscerate entire Palestinian families with American-made bombs, that they can't even fucking have a Palestinian person, an individual with family members come and speak in this similar fashion is disgusting to me. This conversation itself better turn around into one that specifically focuses on Benjamin Netanyahu and his disruptive attitude towards the ceasefire negotiations, or else I'm going to lose my fucking mind.
Okay. So there's a lot to break down here, obviously. Now, the first thing I want to say is, for the most part, I actually agree with Hasan. I don't think there's anything wrong with, giving these parents, basically an opportunity to speak and share their side of like how this conflict has affected them. But I also think that they should have given an opportunity for somebody representing, the people of Palestine to have an opportunity to speak as well. I think that would have been a good faith move from the DNC in order to give them a chance to speak. Having said that, one thing I will say is when you look at something like the DNC, the Democratic National Convention, the whole point of this convention is to kind of be a platform to push Tim Walz and Kamala Harris as this is our, future president and this is our VP. This is who you're voting for, right? So you want people who are going to give them a glowing review to attend this event, or at least give them some kind of positive exposure to potential voters, right? So I can understand why they might look at a statement like this and say, okay, this guy's kind of shitting on our candidate. This is not going to potentially help us get votes. Maybe this isn't good to have this guy here. I can understand why they would say, okay, maybe this guy needs to go. This is the equivalent of like somebody inviting you over for dinner and you taking a shit in like their living room floor, right? Obviously, I disagree. I think, especially at basically at like the DNC or, something like that. I think that these candidates should be able to receive some level of criticism. And, Hasan represents, a decent size of their like potential votership here, right? So maybe they should be a little bit more open to criticism there. I can understand why they would remove him. I don't necessarily agree with it, though, if that makes sense. But yeah, this is what some people think is the reason why he got booted. But I don't know if we'll ever know for sure. But it's probably a pretty safe bet to say this had something to do with it.
Certainty of it all that makes me feel worse about the situation. But I also still feel pretty good, because I never would have imagined getting this level of access to begin with.
I like Hasan. He got me into politics, but I really got pissed when he called Dylan Burns a war-touring pervert. Yeah, basically everybody who's ever called Dylan Burns like a war tourist or something like that is a piece of shit. Okay, like that guy's out there like actually getting shit done to aid the Ukrainians, and like so for them to make like ridiculous comments like that, it's pretty fucked up. But yeah. Oh, here it is. Someone approaches asking for Hasan's press floor pass credentials. So, like I said earlier in the stream, he literally says like, oh, well, I still have my press pass, so I guess they're not completely kicking me out of, press access. And then shortly after that, they come up to him and request the pass.
No worries. Someone is definitely watching the stream, because
oh yeah, they were definitely watching. There's no way you make that statement on stream and then shortly after they take your pass and they didn't fucking know, like for real.
I literally said oh, they didn't even take our credentials away.
And then just showed up.
Someone is watching the stream.
You know that journalist is just like, oh, I just happened to be here for like, this is a good story to write about. Like, if they don't write about this, talk about a missed opportunity.
But on this theory that they we're going to give you the whole thing and then cut it down, is it you think it's because you said something today they didn't like?
I did compare DNC to Israel. That might have been
Yeah, that's probably not. Considering your position on Israel, yeah, that's probably not great.
final blow, because we got the call like shortly after I tweeted that, because so the Uncommitted campaign wanted to have a Palestinian American speak.
Yeah.
Which I think is like a pretty reasonable demand.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a bad thing to ask for at all. Just give somebody an opportunity to speak. Give them like a little like 5-minute slot or something, because like so many of the speeches that happen, they were like 5 to 10 minutes. They could have easily set aside like a 5 to 10 minute slot for them to talk and say whatever they got to say, and that would have been it. And like I said, that would have showed like a good faith effort of like, hey, you know, maybe you guys don't completely agree with our position on this particular conflict, but hey, this at least is a showing of good faith that we are willing to listen to, you know, our voters and actually listen to their concerns and hear what they have to say. I think that would have been a really positive move. I don't necessarily think them not having a Palestinian speaker is a deal breaker per se. Like, Kamala still got my vote, but man, would that really have been a positive showing if they would have had a pro-Palestinian speaker at the DNC?
Like these aren't like random activists. These are like Democratic Party operatives, right? Like they just happen to be Palestinian American, right?
Right.
And Mehdi Hasan said, and Rashida Tlaib as well, confirmed it, that the DNC was like sending out.
Also, if it's the last day, just let him finish the fucking. Yeah, I mean, if he's already on like the last day, what's the point in kicking him out like halfway through the last day? It's just a really odd choice.
Information to the press that like, oh, actually, we wanted the Georgian, the Palestinian American from Georgia, Rua, I think her name is.
Yeah.
That she was one of the speakers that they gave to the DNC with like a vetted speech. And then the DNC was apparently, or someone was leaking to the media that like it was the uncommitted movement that didn't want her to speak specifically, which doesn't make any sense because they literally kept presenting her very openly as the person.
She's out there with Abbas. What? She's out there with Abbas.
Yeah.
Right?
So Mehdi Hasan tweeted about it and was like, this is bullshit. We know that the uncommitted movement is the ones who actually put forward Rua. And I quote tweeted it. I was like, this is like Israel.
That was the other thing, right? Is the person that they wanted to be able to have access to speak. It wasn't even just like, okay, some random like crazy like Twitter leftist or something like that. That's not what they were asking for. They literally had somebody who was like a Democratic state official that just happened to be like Palestinian. That's who they wanted to speak. And it's like, I could understand if they were like, yo, can you just let this random Twitter leftist that doesn't actually have any experience speaking on like a public stage or whatever, like, could we have them speak? Like, I could understand them saying, okay, like, look, like, no. Okay. But this is somebody who is like an actual like elected official. Like, why wouldn't you let them speak? That seems insane.
Bro. Like, I don't understand what the DNC is doing, like, trying to claim that it's not. Oh, shit. AOC stuck behind a motorcade.
Oof. That was another thing that sucked too, is a lot of his interviews had to get canceled because he lost that space. One of which was an interview with AOC.
That sucks.
So what are you gonna do?
I don't know. I mean, I can get AOC anytime. It doesn't really matter. Like, it would have been cool to do it here, but maybe we just don't do it. Maybe I just cancel it. I don't know. Even Omar's team hasn't got back to my manager, and we don't have a space. So I'm telling everybody, I'm canceling all the interviews. You know what I mean, though? Chat and March. Like
That we use the most out of the opportunity.
this is a gimme. Like this was not supposed to happen at all.
Oh
This
yeah,
is
for sure.
Not even in my wildest imagination would I have thought that we would have access to get in to the DNC and like have never in my wildest imagination would I have ever thought that like we would get like 4 days of just like being inside of the DNC, getting full-blown access.
Okay, honestly, I think that that's enough. If you guys want to watch the rest of the video, I'll go ahead and I'll link it in the chat. And then for those of you guys watching later on YouTube, I'll try to remember to put a link in the description or the pinned comment as well. But yeah, that's pretty shitty. Like on one end, I can understand why they might want to kick him out, considering like how hypercritical he is being of, this particular campaign at a convention where they're really trying to push them as like, these are our nominees for this election. Like, and they're really trying to push them in a positive way. I can understand why you might not want someone who's being hypercritical like that to be a part of your event. But at the same time, like, I don't think that like any of his criticism is unwarranted. And at the same time, like, I don't know. I think it's a really bad look because, you want someone to be an elected official that is actually willing to listen to their voters and actually hear what they have to say and, be willing to at least listen to their concerns. And this kind of comes off as like, yeah, we don't want to hear what you have to say at all. Either just praise our nominee or just get out, which not a great look. Again, not a deal breaker for me. I'm still voting for Kamala. But I just think this situation, at the very least, could have been handled a hell of a lot better.